Hello, beautiful friends. Welcome. I'm going to give a minute for anyone to hop on live. Just give some time. Welcome. I'm so excited to I love gifting this experience, the tapping into soul experience. It's all my favorite things. It's all the most profound things that have impacted my life for the better. And what happens when something impacts your life for the better? You naturally want to share it with everyone, right? And so this is a collection of my favorite things, this experience. And I'm a true believer of we need to experience it to really begin to understand something. And so I love experiential learning. I love giving people the experience of this. And so this is something that I created that I share every 3 months. And I open the doors to my Tapping into Soul membership. I have an online membership, and that space, what has been created, co-created with the women in that space, is so beautiful. I wouldn't be where I am today without community, without like minds, without other people, devoted to their own internal growth, to their own spiritual path, to finding, to undoing, undoing what we've learned so that we can create space to learn more, to hold more awareness. And it is without community, I wouldn't be here. I can tell you that 1,000%. And so it can totally be scary to come into community, especially if you've had trauma in your life, if you have wounds, of belonging, of being in community. Good morning, Shauna. Oh, it's so nice to have you here. Hello, hello. And it can be scary. It can be scary to be vulnerable if you have not done this before. Honor that. Honor that. It's okay. It's okay for it to be scary. And so it means a lot to me to share community with others. It is definitely my soul's purpose to bring people together, bring women specifically together in community. Because what I understand, hi Rosalie, oh, I love that flower icon. Thank you for being here. Yeah, I'm meant to bring women together because it is when you bring people together, especially women devoted to to this path of evolution, to this path of life is better, life can be better. This is something that has probably moved me through the trauma of my life, is that I always caught glimpses of people living better lives. And I wanted in on that. I really wanted in on that, even though my mind, I didn't believe I could have that. I didn't believe I was worthy of it. I didn't believe, I believed I was different than others. So many layers of programming. And even though I still had this little nagging thing, and that's my soul, that's why tapping into soul, journey to soul, my soul niggling, right? Saying, no, life can be better. Life can be better. Get curious about it. And so that's my message to everybody. Get curious about it. Hi, Zoya. Welcome. Oh, it's nice to have a couple of women from the community here. Feel free to share with people what this experience is like within the community. But yeah, I knew life could be better. I just knew that there was a different way to do things, but I didn't know that path yet. And so I got curious about it. And I think anybody that's here, I know that you've been curious. And that's probably what's led to everything that's come in your path, right? That's gotten you here today. And so yeah, with that, welcome to day one of the Tapping into Soul experience. If we haven't met, I know I've met a lot of you. I'm Angie Mallory. Journey to Soul is my creation, and I didn't know what it was. It's been a beautiful journey of Journey to Soul teaching me what it is, and how I bring through my gifts to others, to serve, to help others. What do I do? I'm a highly intuitive human being, a spiritual being having a human experience, just like all of us, feeling the feelings, just like all of us. And what I do is I help people undo ego programming, right? So, and I help them to create extraordinary experiences in their life. And these experiences are experiences that are in alignment with our heart, more in alignment with our heart than in alignment with what's outside of us, what society tells us. I've done that, been there, done that. And it didn't bring happiness. And that's what led me, it's that led me to Tibetan Buddhist teachings. It's my own curiosity that brought that into my life. And it was brought into my life, and what it's done is it's helped me undo some of that programming, and help me understand and accept the ego. Not the ego is a bad thing. And so that's why I want to share these. This is why I wanted to share these. I actually kind of created my membership because of these teachings. They're called Lojong. Lojong is mind training, is what it means in Tibetan. It can be translated to mean mind training. And these teachings allowed me to start to understand the ego and how it works. I was always curious about it since I was a teen, understanding what ego meant and what do you mean this ego runs my life, and it's not working in my favor. Like what? So if I believe that life can be better and I find out that there's an ego that's not working for the better of my experience, there's what's the word? There's a inconsistency there, right? And so you get curious about it. And these teachings, these Lojong teachings, are what have allowed me to understand it and soften. And when we soften, the world makes us harden, right? It hardens our heart. When we soften, love begins to pour through. You can't help it. Love just begins to pour through. And when love begins to pour through, you start to see things very differently in the world than you might have been. And you get to soften towards yourself. How many of you feel that you're hard on yourself? This is a common experience, especially among the women that I surround myself with. Rosalie, I find you and being part of your community to be immensely valuable in my life. Thank you, Rosalie, for sharing that. I find this community like it's a co-creation, and so yeah, I might have created Journey to Soul, I might have created the community, but I didn't create what it's become and the value that it has in our lives. We all create that, and so all I wanted to do was help people feel better, help women feel better, and actually experience life being better, experiences being better. So thank you very much for sharing that, Rosalie. I often say that I teach what I need in my life. And why do I do that? Because this is what happens. It gets reflected back to us by the other women that are doing this as well. We reflect it for each other. We reflect the best parts of ourselves for each other. And we hold the space for the parts of ourselves that we want to reject, the ones that we'll kind of talk about this a little bit in the Buddhist teaching today. We want to reject it, right? And so when you have this heart-centered space, safe, sacred space with women that are, trying to live this human experience and have extraordinary experiences that we see other people having, Not only are you reflected the best parts of yourself, you're also gifted the space for the parts that you reject about yourself to rise up and leave you and leave your body and leave your energy. Anyway, I digress. I'm kind of moving forward there, but this just means so much to me, is all I want to say. And, I have a thing here. I express my gratitude, little card here. And I have that by my bed all the time, and I felt the need to bring that out today. And I express my gratitude I'm so grateful for all of you here live on the replay. I'm so grateful for all the humans that are doing this, that are healing themselves, even though it's hard, that are healing themselves, because when we heal ourselves, the natural ripple effect is that we heal others. We're all healers. I believe this. And it starts with us. It starts with healing ourselves. So, welcome. Thank you for being here, and thank you for listening to anything I have to say. I really appreciate that. I'm really grateful for that. I'm grateful for the platform to be able to share like this, the technology. And I'm just grateful for the teachings that come into my life, the teachers that come into my life and help me, and the teachers that help me build myself so that I can share it out as well and do my part for humanity, because I love humanity. I love humans. I love everything I've learned, and now I understand just how incredible humans are. I love that, and I love to share that. So one of the early things in my own journey is really understanding that everything is energy. When we are able to think of things in terms of energy, I believe, this is my opinion, but I believe that we step away from ego, because ego doesn't understand energy. It understands what's physical. It understands what it sees and what it thinks, which is energy, but doesn't really understand that. And so understanding that everything is energy, and understanding that there are frequencies and patterns, energetic patterns, I don't know, it takes away ego for me. And it gets down to the source of what's going on. And there's two things about energy that I really hold in my awareness in my path. And that is that energy cannot be destroyed, right? It only changes. It only changes. And so understanding that really led me to understanding, things like past life, things like we humans give a lot of things labels. We give so many things. We need to, in order to understand our world. And so we put labels on things, and then we collectively agree on certain labels, right? And they become the labels of society. And so, past life, do I believe in past life? Yes, I do. But do I believe it's just energy that's changed in different forms? Yes, I believe that more. That's a truer truth for me. Right? And so this practice that I'm going to bring to you today, Tonglen meditation, if you haven't tried this before, Tonglen it's an energetic practice. And I have found so much personal power in understanding that everything is energy. It's an energetic tool, right? And it's something that is done in meditation. And in meditation is just, to me, with yourself, not with everyone else, not in your interactions of daily life. In these Lojong teachings, we talk about meditation, which is with yourself, contemplation, reflection, really sitting with something in your heart, feeling, right? That's a very personal experience. It's with yourself. And then post meditation is in your interactions with not just people, but things in your life, right? Interactions with concepts, interactions with beliefs, interactions with anything in your life. And so when we have, I lost my train of thought there. Sorry. Just looking at my notes. I've lost my train of thought. That's okay. We're just going to keep going. Okay. What I know is we are so much more. We are so much more than we believe. We are so much more than we think. Right? And I deeply know that we are more than just this physical body. My path has helped me to deeply know this because I have experienced the truth of that over and over and over again. And I continue to get more and more curious about that. And so we are multidimensional. We are not just this physical being, you know, bringing our children to school, like, you know what I mean? Having, conflicts with people, doing laundry, doing, errands, running around, traveling. Like, we're not just that. There's more when you look at the unseen and you look at the energetic realm. And so when we understand that, we understand then that we can impact things more in the unseen with energetic. Everything starts as energy. Everything around me that's physical, including myself, starts as energy. Okay? And then it that is the manifestation cycle, right? It starts in energy and then it comes into form at some point. So there's a cycle that brings it into form. Things don't always come into form, right? And so when we understand that, we become more empowered to be able to intentionally bring things into form. Physical form is what I mean. Right? And so when you really think about that, we're so much more. You're so much more, and we could have so much more power. Sometimes the word power has a lot of labels attached to it, but we have so much more personal power in our own experiences, in our own life. And I'm not going to dive too far into that, but to be human is incredible. Like, I truly believe we are spiritual beings. We are energetic beings, that are here in a physical form. There's a lot of depth to that. I believe we chose to be here. And so if we chose to be here, that's pretty special that we're here. We're here in physical form. Like I said, not all energy comes into form, right? And so can you sit with the gift of that? Right? And what led me to Buddhism? Tibetan Buddhism. I mean, I haven't studied all the different types of Buddhism. I just know I personally have been led to Tibetan Buddhism. And what does Buddha have to say about being human, right? It's understood. I'm just going to look at my notes for a second. It's understood that humans suffer. We come in here to be human, and humans suffer. And there are teachings that help us understand how we can reduce that suffering. If we can accept that we suffer and stop trying to resist it, stop trying to turn away from it. If we can accept it, we can begin to soften, and we can begin to relieve a lot of fear in our life. And we can begin to move down that path of who we are in this world, what meaning we have in this world, why we came here, ultimately, right? And so one of the things I'll go over the teaching. Normally I do the Tonglen meditation first, but I decided, what decided to tell me what we were doing today. Can I repeat that again? Shoot, Christina, I just say things and then I can't repeat it. What did I just say? I was just talking about being human. Okay, so to be human, we suffer. If we can learn to accept, like, if we can reconcile within ourselves that we are the saying, I don't know what saying I said about suffering. I don't know if I said it as a saying, but okay, if we can accept that there is suffering in the human experience. Part of what I believe is that we chose to be here, but we chose to live in polarity, right? To be human is to live in a polarities. We are in a three-dimensional world, a physical world, and there are opposites, there are polarities. And so to suffer is human, but if we can learn to accept that we suffer, we can begin to explore ways to reduce our suffering. We become open. We become open to learning that we have the ability to reduce suffering in our experience. We won't see that if we do not accept suffering, if we do not accept that we suffer, because we'll always be running away from it. Yeah, I don't know, Christina, that I said, did that help? Okay, yeah, thank you. If anything doesn't make sense, please let me know, because there's nothing more. I want you to walk away with an understanding of this. And that is one of the big ones is accepting suffering. And that's what I loved about Buddhism. It accepted suffering. And it gave me relief from my traumatic experiences in life, especially as a child. It gave me relief to understand that suffering had a purpose, that everybody was going through it, even though it didn't look the same, and even though I didn't feel like I belonged and I felt separate from everyone, right? There was, like, I don't know, in some strange way that really made sense to me. And maybe it makes sense to you. But accepting that there is suffering, and that's what attracted me to Buddhist teachings. And I'm really not somebody that follows any kind of dogma or religion. I was raised Catholic and I saw a lot of inconsistencies in there, but there's lots of great takeaways from there too, right? And so I've dove into indigenous teachings, I've dove into galactic teachings, I've dug into Hindu teachings, to Buddhist teachings, and I found truth in all of it and a common thread through all of it. And so in Buddhism, that was what my takeaway was that accepting that there is suffering made total sense to me. It brought relief. And so that's why I really dove a lot deeper into these teachings. Right. And so the teachings that I want to share, I decided to go with the very first teaching in Lojong. So Lojong is a Tibetan Buddhist tradition set of slogans. It's about, I always forget because there's 52 cards in the deck. I'm thinking 52. I think it's 56 or 59 slogans. Okay, they act as instructions. They act as instructions to the human to go walk a path of enlightenment, of awakening. And to me, a path of enlightenment, a path of awakening, all it is awakening to who you are, awakening to that essence, that energy of who you are, not this physical being, not the ego self, but to who you actually are inside. Rosalie, accepting makes way for transcending, right? Yeah, accepting makes so much, accepting creates so much space, guys. So much space. Acceptance is really a place to start. Awareness, well, I'm going to say awareness is a place to start. Acceptance comes next. Becoming aware of it and then accepting it, finding acceptance. So these Lojong trainings, right? You can reach for any of the slogans and it's an instruction. It kind of works like oracle cards to me, you just pick a card and trust that your energy will bring you the message that you need. These slogans act that way to me. But when we study the slogans together and we start to put them into practice in our life, they all work with each other and they work with our lives where they're at. That's the other thing I love about these teachings. These are ancient teachings from Buddha, but they are very simple instruction that applies to the messiness of our human life. So it acknowledges the messiness of human life. To me, there's no point in it doesn't make sense to me to reject and ignore part of that life sucks, Why are we ignoring that life sucks? Life sucks. This is suffering is a common experience among every single human being on this planet. I don't care who you are, right? Life sucks sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't feel good. And so that makes total sense to me. So the first of the slogans is about a foundation. It's about creating a foundation for your practice, for your path of enlightenment. Why are you here? Why are you getting curious about these things? Because you want something to be better in your experience. Every single one of you, I'm sure, wants something to be better in your experience because suffering is inevitable. Right? Christina says, acceptance is a lesson that I still have a lot to learn about. To be able to fully do it, I find it so sad at times to accept certain things. Yes, absolutely. I see you. I feel you. I know it. It is very hard, especially if you've had trauma in your life. And I don't say this with any lightness. I have walked through that path of acceptance, especially with a lot of trauma in my life. And it's really, really hard to accept it. But I promise you, man, I promise you on the other side of it, I can feel it. On the other side of it is so much freedom, is so much liberation, is so much relief, is so much. I wouldn't, it's what pushes me to keep talking about this, even if people don't understand it, even if people reject it. It's okay. You are where you're at. That's okay. I rejected it before. Rosalie, life is amazing. Yeah. And there are moments and phases that suck for you. Yeah, me too. But life is incredible and I see it more. And that's the acceptance opens the space for you to be able to see it, to be able to see how worth it is, why we would come here, why would we choose this experience, right? Life is totally amazing. It can be amazing and it is amazing, but I'll tell you, the ego and the mind are, I was talking to my father-in-law about this morning. It is oriented to the negative. It is because it's not, that's why it's not working for the best good. It's never working for your highest good. The mind and the ego are not working for your highest good because it is oriented to the negative. By nature, it's okay. And that's an acceptance too, accepting that that is. And we can't change that. We can only learn to accept it, to be aware of it, to accept it, and make new choices, be more empowered in that moment. And so that's why I created the membership, because I wanted these teachings. I wanted to put them into practice in my own life. I teach what I need in my life. And I knew that I needed these slogans. I knew that I needed these reminders as I'm living life to remind me of the bigger picture, to remind me that there's meaning in the suffering, that there's meaning in life, that I am growing as a result of the polarities that I'm experiencing, including the really shitty ones. Zoya, thank you for reminding me why I joined the Tapping into Soul membership. You're welcome, Zoya. I need the reminder of why I created it, and I'm finding a lot of gratitude right now for why I created it. And we're moving through these slogans. So we in the membership, I teach them, share them. I wouldn't say I teach them, I didn't create them. But I share the teachings of each of the slogans once a week with an invitation to practice. And there will be an invitation to practice for both the Tonglen meditation and for the teaching. And I do that weekly, and I apply it in my own life weekly. Right? You find so much truth in what I'm saying right now. Thank you, Zoya. Thank you. It's coming straight from my heart. I'm a perfectionist, and so I have notes, and I get so caught up in my notes, and I have to say it exactly this way, and these rules, right? And that's the mind. That's the mind And I have learned to really step into my heart through the membership. Actually, the membership has been my greatest teacher in this, to step into my heart and trust myself, trust that the information will flow through that needs to be shared, and it doesn't need to look a certain way. It really doesn't. Yeah, something so miraculous about sharing our gratitudes and intentions. Oh my God, guys, if you can be here for day 3, please be here Friday at 12:30 Eastern time. Because that circle is our life, man, in this community, right? Rosalie, Zoya, that circle is something we turn to, and it really helps because there's something very powerful about sharing gratitude and intention and speaking each other's gratitudes and intentions. Oh my God, that's a whole nother thing. I'll definitely do a live in the group to talk about it. But okay, so man, I could just chat with you guys all day. Okay, so let's talk about this first. Zoya will be there. Awesome. So let's talk about this first teaching. This first teaching in Lojong, okay? Because I thought it's smart to start with the first thing. And the first thing is about the best foundation for our path of awareness and acceptance. If you want to move into awareness and acceptance and empowerment, empowered choice, conscious choice, you need a foundation. And to me, a foundation is about holding a certain awareness in all your doing, everything you do, right? So that you are reminded of the big picture in your daily life, because you can get lost. The big picture is lost in the daily drama of our life. There's so much drama. God, there's so much. In every moment, there's so much drama, right? And so these teachings teach us about that production and the drama and how it unfolds and how thoughts get out of hand and how the ego holds on and it clings. In the early teachings of this, the slogans really teach on this. Really powerful stuff. And so, number 1, I have these beautiful slogan cards. So I'm going to read number 1. The first slogan is first, train in the preliminaries. That's how you start. You start with a foundation. Okay, and I'm going to read the commentary on the back, and then we're going to break down that teaching and really talk a little bit more about that. The preliminaries are also known as the 4 reminders. I call them the 4 awarenesses. And in fact, I kind of break it into 5 myself. This is based on Pema Chodron, okay, Tibetan Buddhist nun. Not nun, I don't know if, I think that's what she officially calls herself. I don't know, but she's a teacher. And, okay, so the 4 reminders, the 4 awarenesses, or the 5 reminders, 5 awarenesses. Doesn't matter. In your daily life, day to day, if you can hold this awareness in your daily life, you will progress. You will progress on that path. It is natural that you will progress. It's natural that we progress no matter what. We can do it kicking and screaming, or we can do it willfully and intentionally. Okay, but you will progress in mind training in Lojong you will learn to question energetic patterns and suffering in your life. Okay, but you will progress if you hold these 5 awarenesses. So number 1, maintain an awareness of the preciousness of human life. Okay, be aware of the reality that life ends. Death comes for everyone. And I know these sound harsh, okay? We'll gently deconstruct it. Be aware of the reality that life ends, death comes for everyone. Number 3, recall that whatever you do, whether it's virtuous or not, has a result. And the saying that comes to mind, again, humans label things, what goes around comes around. There's a lot of attachment to that, what goes around comes around, though. So, if you feel guarded at hearing what goes around comes around, just allow yourself to feel guarded about it and know that there's a reason, and because there's attachments and labels attached to that. But really what it is all actions have a result. There is a result for every action. Okay? So if we can hold that awareness, we progress. Number 4, contemplate that as long as you are too focused on self-importance and too caught up in thinking about how you are good or bad, polarity here, we're talking about polarity here, and ego, okay, you will suffer. So I'm going to repeat that. Contemplate that as long as you are too focused on self-importance and too caught up in thinking how you are bad or good, you will suffer. Suffering is inevitable. Okay? And then what I call number 5 is happiness is not outside of you. Right? What they say is part of 4 is obsessing about getting what you want and avoiding what you don't want does not result in happiness. And so to me, happiness is not outside of you. This is what the world teaches us. It doesn't teach us to let go. The world does not teach us how to let go. We don't know how to do it. We haven't been trained in it. You know, people, it's very easy for someone to say to you, let go. Just let go. Just let go of it. Fuck you. It's not easy. Sorry, I get a little sweary when I'm passionate about it. Because I really don't like that people push that. I don't like this pushing of, just let it go. When I had mental illness, just get over it. That's not helpful. That's not empowering, right? Somebody that's working for your highest good is giving you information to empower you, right? And so understanding happiness is not outside of you, and there's an understanding that we hold in this. There's an awareness that we hold in this, that obsessing, that humans, okay, every single human operates this way. There is polarity, right? There's a low feeling experience versus a high feeling experience, and we label them. Okay. And so we understand that we always move towards pleasure and we always move away from pain. And that does not serve us. If we get caught up in the moving away or moving towards, we want the middle way. Okay, and that's Taoism. Really talks about the middle way, right? And that's what I love about Taoism. And so when we obsess, when we allow ourselves to get obsessed with what we want, what feels good, it doesn't serve us. And when we keep avoiding and moving away from what doesn't feel good, it doesn't result in a happiness. It doesn't help us. Okay, so when we can hold those awarenesses, we can move forward in life. We can move forward in, letting go and releasing, and we can move forward in creating extraordinary experiences in our life that are in alignment with our heart. But we won't be able to be in alignment with our heart if our heart is closed. And so these teachings cultivate. It teaches us how to cultivate compassion. It teaches us how to cultivate fearlessness because we understand what's going on, so we no longer fear what we don't understand, right? It helps us cultivate wisdom because we experience it. As a practice in our life, it brings us experiences. And it helps us cultivate loving kindness towards others, because if we've awakened compassion in our heart, if we've opened our heart, we can, and we've opened our heart to ourselves, we, by nature, by universal law, we now are loving and kind towards other people. Because a person who has an open heart, who has opened compassion to themselves, does not do horrible things to other people. You just don't. You don't want to. I'm going to share something with you. My brother, I have 2 brothers, 2 younger brothers. We're all 4 years apart. So my youngest brother, we're 8 years apart, and he, him and I, we through my trauma, my huge traumatic years are my first 9 years of life, 8 years of life. And so my brother was a baby, and so he doesn't know my experience very well, and I was away from him, and so I don't know his experience very well. And so there's, there's some friction there, and he keeps me at an arm's length. There's love, but he keeps me at an arm's length. And I just found out, because he's finally getting help. Well, I just found out that something I did when I was unconscious, when I was unconsciously acting in life, that something I said to him hurt him so bad that he's been holding on to it for years, and he's just starting to unpack it and being able to express. And so, I had said something years ago that has hurt him, and he's been holding on to it. And why did I want to tell you this? Gosh, this will just keep happening. Sorry, guys. This is what it is to be human. There was a reason I was telling you this. He's been so focused. He hasn't been able to see a way forward because he's been so focused on how bad he is. because I said something that implied that he was bad. And, it was my own trigger and it had nothing to do with him. And I don't even remember saying it. And so I messaged him. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Because I've done this work, that's what I wanted to say. Because I've done this work, when my mom told this to me, my mom told him she was going to tell me because, we're healing our family. And she's very close to him. So what she told him, she would tell me, and I told him, I messaged him and I just said, I'm so sorry. I was able to share compassion with him instead of getting like, oh my God, before old me would have been like, holy crap, you've been holding on to that for so long. New me is like, wow, wow, how much pain it's created because there's that wounded part of you that's been holding on to what I said and making it mean something about you. And it's the healing that I've done that I'm able to share that compassion and I'm able to share loving kindness with him. I've cultivated this through this practice that I was able to share with him. I don't recall saying that to you, but I can assure you that I would never say something like that to you now because I know what the impact is of that. And that's what these teachings do. These teachings awaken you to the suffering of others, to the suffering that you're having, to the sameness of the suffering. There's a thread that moves through suffering, and it doesn't matter what the suffering looks like. We think we're separate. There's an illusion in this world that we're separate from it. We're separate from this person because my suffering looks different than yours. It's not fucking true. Trauma treatment really taught me that. My trauma is not different than yours. My trauma is not worse than yours, and so you have to live with your trauma because my trauma is worse than yours. That's bullshit. Stop comparing your traumas. And this teaches you that there's a common thread of suffering that underneath all of the suffering that people are having, all of the traumas that we're having, all of the experiences that don't feel good. One experience could feel really awful to one person and not awful for me. Okay? It's not fair to ourselves to compare it. Anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about with there. So that's why we do these teachings. That's why we move through these teachings. That is why we look at it. So let's look at number one. Number one, human life is precious. I spoke about that. Energy coming into form is incredible. It's precious. What about when you create something? So you have an idea. You have an idea of something you want in your life. And it starts off as an idea. It's this energy that comes out, this idea of what you want. And then maybe by chance, you look at it as by chance because that's how humans see it. They don't see that they're creators. They don't see that they are the divine ones that bring this into form. But let's say it starts as an idea. Look around in your life at what you have that you're so grateful for. It started off as energy and it was brought into form. Can you see how precious that is? How precious is that thing to you that you're so grateful for? And it started off as a thought. Maybe it's that you wrote a book. You had an idea and you wrote a book. Maybe it's a piece of art that you had an idea of and now it sits in your house and you have this physical manifestation of this beautiful thing that felt so beautiful to you, and that's why you took steps, you took actions to bring it into form. Right? Maybe it is a relationship in your life. You had an idea of what kind of person that you wanted in your life. Maybe it's a meal. There's nothing more important than the other. You understand, right? It is still energy coming into form. It's precious. So can you apply that? If you can see that, if you can hold that or know, oh yeah, that is incredible. Can you look at yourself this way? That you have this human body that's divinely operating. It is this beautiful thing that, knows how to breathe. It knows how to move. You don't have to think about it, right? Can you apply it to that this physical being that I am, I'm not, You're the essence in the being. But anyway, we won't go there. Human life is precious. Can you see that your being here is actually just precious on its own? It's a gift. It's a beautiful thing, despite whatever experiences you have had in this human body. Okay? Human life is precious. Can you hold that awareness that human life is precious? And so the time that you have here as a human is precious. And the more times you can hold that awareness in your everyday life, the more the gift of that is reflected back to you, if that makes sense. Right? And, oh, wow, speaking of my brother just messaged me. Anyway. Okay, so number one, human life is precious. Can we hold that awareness in our day to day? Number two, everything is impermanent. How is it that it was said in the slogan? Be aware of the reality that life ends, death comes for everyone. The reality, it's just accepting and really holding the awareness, the reality that life comes to an end. And why do we want to hold the reality? We want to hold the reality because the ego is terrified of death. And death comes in so many forms. We experience death and rebirth through our entire life, right? How many of you are in a transition period? You're, I just sold my house and now we're moving, across the country. And I'm living in my in-laws' basement. And, there's death and rebirth. I just had to let go of 13 years of my life, attachment, 13 years of ego attachment to this home that I had. But I still have me. I'm still here. Right? And so you understand that death is actually the ego. And the ego does not like death. The ego will do everything to trip you up and stop you from creating death. But if we can hold the awareness and understand that everything is impermanent, change is inevitable, death is inevitable, we don't know when it's going to come, but it's going to come. And if we can stop spending our precious human life avoiding it, we can progress so much faster, guys. So much faster. Okay. And number three, all actions have a result. This is, I didn't want to call it this. I mean, in some of the teachings, it's the law of karma. But there's a lot of ego attachment to karma and what it is, and that it's a punishment system, and it's not. It's energy. Energy has universal laws, and so every action has a result. It's just holding an awareness that every action has a result. What seeds, let's look at it as seeds. What you sow is what will grow, right? But what will grow is not going to happen now, it's going to happen later. So you plant a seed and it's going to grow something, and maybe it's the wrong seed you plant, right? And you don't know until it's coming up that, oh shoot, my in-laws planted sweet peppers, what they thought were sweet peppers. It turned out they were Trinidadian scorpion peppers, which are like the second or third hottest pepper in the world. That's what they grew. They didn't know, they didn't expect it. You don't know. And so until it starts to come up, you won't know. And at that point, when you have awareness and you have acceptance, you can sow a new seed. Do you see? So every present moment we can change, right? And so we just understand that every action has a result. So whatever you are experiencing right now that doesn't feel good, is it best to beat ourselves up? Is it best to shame ourselves and guilt ourselves for sowing the seed that we didn't know what it was going to grow until we knew? Or is your energy best served just seeing it, being aware of it, accepting it, and then sowing putting a new seed in? Oh shit, I don't want this. This isn't what I want. Damn. I thought I was sowing the right thing. It's okay. I thought I put the right seed in, and now here we, instead what my in-laws did was they went to a small batch pepper company that makes pepper sauces, like hot pepper sauces, and offered it to them, and they accepted it, right? And then they felt good about giving it forward. And so this is, what I mean? We have a choice. We could be upset that we sowed the wrong seed, or that it grew something we didn't expect, So understand that in this present moment is where our power is. And in this present moment, whatever you're experiencing is actually a past action. And when we understand that, then we know that we can make a new action right now and it will bring a different result later. Unless we do the same thing, then we're just playing out a pattern, right? And that pattern will come back. So do we understand that law of karma in this energetic kind of way? It is literally just we take an action now and it has a result. We took an action before, it has a result that we're experiencing right now. Right? So number 4, and so again, holding awareness of this in our everyday life. Number 4, there is polarity in this experience. This human experience is full of polarity. That's why we came here. It is in the polarity that we're able to understand the other side. When you don't have one without the other, right? And so as I see the human life as this we go here, and then we start to level out. That's what I see the journey as personally. So there's polarity in this experience. We want one thing over the other. When we understand there's polarity, when we have an awareness of that and we accept that there's polarity, you're going to go up here and you're going to feel really high, but guess what? You're going to come back down and it's okay. You're here to experience all of it. Okay? And there is power in the awareness of that and acceptance of that. And then you start to have conscious choice. Right? We want one thing over the other. We want the one that feels good. We want this one. And so how much of our time and energy is spent trying to reach for this one? And then and when we get down and it feels crappy, how much of our time and energy is spent trying to avoid that and avoid feeling it? Right? And so when we allow ourselves to obsess over wanting something or avoid feeling down here, we suffer. It isn't until we come into the balance of it and we start to make choices that are more balanced that we start to lessen suffering in our life. And these instructions help us with that. So that is that teaching. And so, sorry, the 5th one I said was happiness is not outside of you. It is not outside of you. The sooner that you can hold that awareness that it's not outside of you and that the world has programmed you to not let go, but to keep finding more until you're overwhelmed and you have a mental health breakdown. A very real experience in our world. Right. And so what creates happiness? And so what is the curiosity here? The curiosity here, guys, is before creating the foundation of these 4 or 5 awarenesses, the curiosity is, what is it then that creates happiness for me? Right? And how do I create a meaningful life? You don't have to have the answers right now. You're just sowing a seed. Okay? But if you get curious about that seed will bring back some really interesting plants, harvest, whatever. And so that's the teaching. And that is Lojong. Lojong is about opening your heart. It is about cultivating a self that is very aware and accepting and empowered. And that will transform your life, I promise you. It will transform your life. It'll help you see people in your life that you've been avoiding, see situations in your life that you've been avoiding, and it's been creating suffering in your life. It will help you to see them differently. It'll help you see through a different lens because you're opening your heart. And so the next teaching, the last thing I want to end here with is Tonglen. Tonglen is a teaching in itself. I'm not going to go deep into the teaching. But why I want to share Tonglen with you is because Tonglen is a meditation that you can do any time in your life. Any breath. You can start with any breath. And to me, that's really, really powerful. Living in a busy society, if you're a mom, whatever, if you're just a freaking adult in this Western society, you don't think you have time, right? I know you don't think you have time. We all do. But if you can understand that it just takes one breath to start this, and if you can cultivate the belief that that is powerful enough to make a difference in this world, then this is a very powerful practice for you. Okay? So the teaching itself, I'm going to read the teaching again. I'm going to read the commentary, and then I'm going to talk about it. And I'm just going to lead you through a few breaths of meditation, of transmuting. And we'll get to that. So the teaching itself, this is slogan number 7, and it is sending and taking should be practiced alternately. These two should ride the breath. So Tonglen, what Tonglen stands for, maybe it says that on the back. Yeah, I'll just, before I read this, Tonglen in Tibetan is translated as taking in. It's taking in and sending out. So you're using your breath to take in and send out. So breathing in, you're taking in, sending out on the out breath. That's the practice. Super easy. And then energy follows intention. So if you have an intention of what you're taking in and what you're sending out, the energy follows that. And you don't have to do anything. The energy transforms. Energy changes other energy. Somebody walks into a room and they're foul. Who am I? It sounds like I don't use that word in my everyday life. If they come in and they're in a mood. My husband was in a mood when I said something to him yesterday, and I just stayed away because you feel it. Because that energy that they're emitting transforms the energy you're feeling, experiencing, right? Unless you make an empowered choice and step away. Or you can engage with it, which I no longer do. Anyway, I digress. So Tonglen, again, is taking in and sending out with every single breath. You have access to this with every breath, okay? This is instruction for a meditation practice called Tonglen. In this practice, you send out happiness to others and you take in any suffering that others feel. But you take in with a sense of openness. This is cultivating the open heart, okay? You take in with a sense of openness and compassion, and you send out in the same spirit. The teaching dives into what that means. People need help, and with this practice, we are extending our energy. It says we are extending ourselves to them. We are extending the availability of this energy to them. We do this, and we'll talk about this on Friday. We do this in the gratitude and intention practice. I often bring this in to sort our little meditation that we do. That we can amplify. We can cultivate gratitude, the frequency of gratitude, and we can amplify it together, and we can now send it out. We can send it out to the world. We are all free-willed human beings. They don't necessarily have to take it, and we don't need to control them to take it. We send it out so that that energy is available for them when they choose to reach for it. It's very powerful. It's very powerful when we send this out. And so I want to give you an example of where I use Tonglen in my daily life all the time. My husband, he is really mean when he's driving. I'm sure a lot of you can relate. Maybe you're even like this. I don't drive, so I'm not. But he's really mean to other people, and he makes a lot of assumptions about other people, and he calls them all kinds of things that I don't like to call people. And because of these teachings, because of what I have learned, I understand that there is suffering there. He's going through suffering right now because he sees himself as separate, right? And he doesn't see the common thread of suffering. And so instead of me trying to control him and say something or shame him for his behavior or telling him, suggesting helpful suggestions of how he could look at it, right? He doesn't want to hear it. So it is so empowering for me, like literally in the car, I can just be silent now. And immediately on my next in-breath, I am breathing in frustration, separation, like you name it. My intention creates the energy. The energy follows my intention. And so when I will take a breath in and I will be like, oh man, I I'm breathing in your frustration because I know what it means to be frustrated. Maybe not this situation, but another. And I am breathing in separation because you think you are separate from all these other humans out here. And then I'm going to breathe out peace. I'm going to breathe out whatever the intention is and whatever comes to my mind in that moment. I breathe out peace. I breathe out unity, oneness. And it, like, I just know now, because I've cultivated this practice, I know that it makes a difference. You know how I know it makes a difference? Because me yelling at him before in the car didn't fucking make a difference, right? And so I have to believe that this is better than that. Does that make sense? And we can do this with anything. If your child is having a temper tantrum, oh my gosh, they're so frustrated, they don't even know what to do, right? They're overwhelmed right now with stimulation, whatever it is. So I'm going to breathe in overstimulation, overwhelm. And I'm going to breathe out calm, peace. And I'm just going to do a few breaths of that, or for as long as I remember, because I have squirrel brain and I might only do 2 breaths of it until my husband, shouts out idiot again to another driver. And then I'll be like, oh, right, it's a reminder. He says idiot, and I'm like, oh, okay, he's frustrated again. Breathe it in. He thinks he's separate. Breathe it out. This is how I use it every day in my life. I use it especially with my kids. I use it with my husband in driving all the time in the car. And it's amazing how empowering it makes you feel. It makes you feel more empowered and calm. It maintains my peace, maintains my calm. And energetically, energy follows intention. You set that intention, And so if you're starting a Tonglen practice, if this speaks to you, if this is something you want to try in your life, I invite you to take one thing in your life that you encounter often of another person, that is suffering. You can clearly see they are suffering. Can you breathe in their suffering? I know it seems counterintuitive to breathe it in, but your heart is powerful, guys. Especially when you cultivate and open it, it is so much more powerful, and you're allowing divine flow of love to transmute that energy. You're not doing it. It's not taking away from you. You're just breathing it in. You're using your intention to bring it into that flow of divine love, and then you're sending it back out. Yeah, another example possibly. So Christina, maybe one a little more personal to you. Just like let's say your son is acting out in a way that he always acts out, a way that you're very used to him acting out, and maybe you don't know what it is that he's suffering from in that moment, but he's suffering, right? Can you hold the awareness that he is suffering right now? That's why he's lashing out. And I lash out sometimes when I suffer, right? And so in that moment, instead of coming at him, instead of saying anything or feeling the urge, following that urge, I would say, to say something, can you just in that moment take a couple of breaths in, take one breath in and breathe in his suffering, breathe in the pain. Use separation and oneness. I use separation and oneness a lot. That's what I'm going to guide us through in a moment. I breathe in that he's feeling separate. And I'm going to add another level to this. We're here in service to others. We heal ourselves to serve others. And anybody who follows me, you're in service to others. Even if you think you're not, you are. If you're here. So you breathe in separation. And at the same time, you hold an intention of, I wish for all beings on this planet to be free of feeling separate. When you do this, you add a new level of intention for yourself. Because if you're including all beings on the planet, you're including yourself. Not just this person that you're breathing in for. You're including yourself, and you're including all beings on the planet. So I breathe in separation, the feeling of separation and frustration. And I wish for all beings to be free of it. And I breathe out peace and unity for all beings to choose, including your son, including yourself, including anybody on this planet. Tell me if that lands for you, if that makes sense. You can even do it as simple as, my daughters, they fight. Of course, they're siblings. And one of them always thinks it's unfair. The older one thinks it's unfair because the younger one's treated differently because she's younger, right? And so it's always unfair. And so I'm often breathing in unfairness, that feeling of unfairness. And I'm breathing out the feeling of unity, the feeling of belonging, whatever it is in that moment, right? And so this is what the practice is. It is taking in and sending out. And the more that you practice this, the more it opens like at first you might feel resistance, and that's okay, guys. Breathing in is counterintuitive for some people, especially if you're so used to avoiding discomfort. And especially if you hold a belief that people deplete you, right? If you hold a belief that you're depleted all the time, then the last thing you're going to want to do is breathe in suffering, okay? That's why I think this is why I created membership, because I wanted a space for people to start putting this into practice in their life, to cultivate, because it's about cultivating. It's a long game. It's not a short game. It's not a band-aid solution. We've tried band-aid solutions for too long. It's not working. And this is the long game. And it helps us meet ourselves where we're at in the messiness of life. There is no optimum circumstances for you to start having a spiritual practice. This is about spiritual practice right here, right now, in what you're dealing with. And that's why I love Tonglen. Tonglen is, holy shit, this doesn't feel good right now. That person is suffering, and I don't want to take on their suffering, or I don't want to engage in their suffering. So I'm just going to take a breath in and breathe in that suffering and give them what they need energetically. Because they are a free-willed being. I can't control that they won't choose it. That's okay. They won't choose it. But there's going to be a moment where they do choose it. And you have to know that you setting out that intention puts that frequency out there for people to access it. Can you look at it that way? And this is how we learn to begin to let go. To let go of what is it I want to say? To let go, just to let go of the suffering, to let go of the responsibility. That's the word I want to say. That I feel like I'm responsible for holding it for you. This cultivates the ability to let go of that and trust that that energy is there for them. And you physically do not need to be there for them. Okay, so now let's look at this on a bigger scale. Let's do a Tonglen meditation. The world needs it right now. The world is in separation. I mean, it always has been, but I think it's a lot more visible right now. Share if you agree with that. Division is very apparent now for more of us. Any of us who have any humans, I mean, not just us here, any humans who have been avoiding painful realities in the world are suffering because it's more visible now. It's more in your face. There are more people speaking the truth of it, and it's not comfortable for people. And can we have some love and compassion for them? It can be hard because their choices might be painful or hurtful. And this is why Tonglen can be really gentle and loving for us, especially if you're empathic and you really feel, that aggression. from people, because I want you to remember humans avoid what doesn't feel good. This is very normal. Humans avoid. And maybe you're aware of that, but maybe the other person is not aware of that they're avoiding, they're projecting right now. But you do. And so, yeah, it makes me sad too. It breaks my heart. Like, it really breaks my heart. And so I have found a lot of solace in Tonglen of just taking a moment to take, let's say, 5 breaths. We're going to walk through 5 breaths. You can do this at your own pace of breathing too. You don't have to follow my breath. You're just going to take 5 breaths and hold the intention that I'm sharing with you, or your own intention. Follow your own intuition. If something comes in of what you want to breathe in, what you want to take, what suffering you want to take away from people and transmute with love, and what you want to send out to them in place of it. Okay? So thinking about this world, and I'm going to hold separation. This world the world believes they are separate from one another. These people that are aggressive, they need to, they're being run by their trauma, by unconscious behavior patterns, by unconscious energies, and believing that they have to control the world. Imagine, I used to think I had to. I know the suffering that it creates. So imagine the suffering that they are in, that they feel the need to do what they're doing. Okay? And can you relate with that because you've had that in your own experience? So if you're having a hard time breathing in their suffering, can you relate that you have the suffering too? It looks different, but it's the same suffering. Maybe it's hopelessness. People feel hopeless right now. So let's breathe in hopeless. It's 1:11 right now. I love that. I'm going a little bit past time, so sorry guys. I just kind of go with what feels right. So breathing in. So we're going to do 5 breaths. Sorry, I didn't really put a lead on this. We're going to do 5 breaths, and what we're going to do with each breath in, we're going to breathe in hopelessness, fear, and separation. Okay? Hopelessness, fear, and separation. We're going to breathe in. And just wish for all beings to be free from hopelessness, fear, and separation. Trust that you don't have to say it a perfect way, okay? It's an intention. It will get out there. And then you breathe. So you breathe that in, and then on your out breath, you're breathing in hope. What's the opposite, right? Hope, love, and unity, or oneness. I'm going to say oneness because it's a commonality. We are all one in suffering. We're all one in suffering. Okay? And so breathing out oneness so that one day they reach for it. They reach for that concept of oneness, and it starts to enter their life, and it starts to enter their reality, and not through your force, through the universe bringing it to them because they chose it. Okay? Does that make sense? So let me remember what I said. I'm going to write it down quickly. I said we're going to breathe in hopelessness. That's right. Hopelessness, fear. Because with hopelessness comes fear and the belief that we're separate, right? Separation. And we're going to breathe out, breathe out hope, love, and oneness. Okay? And this is one we can do every day for humanity, just for humanity. Just do it for a moment, Okay, so 5 breaths, guys, at your own pace. Use your own words, whatever feels right to you. Trust yourself. Trust yourself. Trust yourself. All right, so breathing in hopelessness, fear, and separation, wishing for all beings to be free of this experience. Breathing out hope, love, and oneness so that anyone can grab it who needs it. Breathing in hopelessness, fear, and separation, and wishing for all beings to be free of that experience. And breathing out hope, love, and oneness so that it is more available for the humans on this planet. Again, breathing in hopelessness, fear, and separation, allowing that energy to dissolve so there's less of it on the planet. And breathing out hope, love, and oneness so that there's more of that on this planet, on the earth plane. Again, breathing in hopelessness, fear, and separation, and maybe even loneliness, the loneliness that it creates. Wishing for all beings to be free of it. And breathing out hope, love, and oneness so that people can begin to have experiences of that. And one last time, just breathing in hopelessness, fear, separation, the loneliness that creates. And breathing out hope, love, and oneness so that you and others on the earth plane can reach for it in times of need. And just for a moment, I want you to just notice. We notice without judgment, okay? We are human. These are normal feelings, right? And maybe there's resistance to breathing it in. And that's okay. Can you hold the awareness that we live in the human experience, that there's polarity and we want to avoid what feels bad, and we obsess over what feels good. Can you hold that awareness right there? Right? And just notice if it feels good. Notice if there is empowerment. If you're feeling empowered, that you feel like, okay, maybe I'm not so helpless. If there's even a glimmer of that. Can you celebrate yourself for that? Can you get curious about it? Have a desire to cultivate it? So I invite you, the doors to Tapping into Soul community will be opening on Friday, and it's $88 a month. Some changes are going to happen. These experiences are still going to be included, but I also want to include manifestation creation into that space, because we also create extraordinary experiences in our life along with our practice. And so that's coming down the pipeline. So if you're considering this, if you have questions, God, don't be afraid to talk to me, really reach out. We can chat about it. If you have reservations, if you have hesitations, allow yourself the space for that. Tomorrow, whenever you're catching this, tomorrow is going to be Thursday, October 27th. So either live or the recording. We have a Zoom call. This is going to be live on Zoom, and I'm going to guide us in a grounding meditation, and share oracle card readings with you. If you're on live, I will pull cards for you, and I will also share intuitive messages that come through me. Come through me. So I'm really excited. Oracle cards are something that really, really helped me. I can't wait to share that story tomorrow about that. And if you could use that guidance in your life right now, use some higher perspective, wisdom, unconditionally loving wisdom in your life right now, please come for that live. If you can't be there live, that's okay. Leave a message. I'm happy to pull a card for you anyway and send it to you directly. I pulled a card for today, and isn't it interesting that there's a glare. It's death card. This deck is the shamanic healing oracle, and it really honors that everything is energy. They're very simple teachings, and really honoring that everything is energy, and so I love these messages. And so the death message is so fitting for what we've been talking about today. I mean, it's right in the teaching even, right? Death is imminent. So let's talk about death. Death is scary. Endings, whether they are planned or a surprise, are most often accompanied with a sense of anxiety, unease, or more strongly, with denial and refusal to let go of the person, the relationship, or the situation that is ending. What do? We avoid. We avoid what doesn't feel good. We avoid death. We avoid ending, right? Endings always signify beginnings. As in the new beginning card, this card urges us to let go gracefully. Do not attach yourself to the emotions and the energy of what is ending. Feel it. This is what we're meant to do, guys. We're meant to feel it, experience it, and then let it go. What did I say? We're not taught how to let go, right? Let it go. A slight shift in perspective is sometimes all that is needed to experience this transition with more grace and ease. Instead of thinking, oh no, I have to start all over, shift the perspective slightly and think, yay, I get to start all over. This shift, why do the shift? What we're doing is raising our energetic vibration. It is energy. We are raising the vibration of that energy. And that you experience the change of that energy, that shift, right? And it's good. It moves you, it moves the compass away from that negative, right? This shift will raise your energetic vibrations and it will carry you through a time of change. It'll carry you through the impermanence energetically, right? It'll move us away from the troublesome situation. It'll move us away from the bad feeling instead of avoiding, right? We're letting the energy carry us up in vibration, moving the needle towards what feels good. We don't have to run to what feels good. We don't have to avoid what doesn't feel good. We change the energetic vibration so naturally we lift. And so I end on that note. I end on a very powerful oracle message for everyone. And I love you and I thank you for listening to this. If you're here on the replay, if you're here live, check. Let me know. Let me know how this resonates. Let me know what was a powerful takeaway for you. Let me know, if you're interested in learning more about this. Right? I love you. You're amazing. You're incredible. I can't share that enough. There was a time where I did not believe that about myself. And I now believe that about myself. I know that about myself, that I'm able to hold that for you. Well, until you do believe it, until you feel it, until you experience it yourself. And it becomes your knowing. Anyway, I love you. Thank you for being here. I look really forward to tomorrow evenings. So that's October 27th is tomorrow, yes. Yep, Thursday, October 27th at 6 o'clock p.m. We will be on Zoom. There's a Zoom link. I will post it in the group as well. The replay for this will automatically be in the group. And I'm going to put some timestamps on there so that you can access what you need to access. My father-in-law, he told me he was going to mess with me while I was on a call, and he's doing that now. Anyway, all right, I love you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for receiving what I'm sharing.